Okay, there are some thermostats that use direct line voltage or 120 volts, so it's something you want to be extra careful for. It's always a good idea to turn off all the breakers when you go to replace the thermostat. This way you don't turn on something by accident, although it can be done live. It's much safer for yourself and the equipment to turn off the power first. Welcome to Kung Fu Maintenance. Today I'm going to show you how to change a thermostat. This is an old type, can't even call it analog, but it's got no real display to tell you exactly what temperature you're set to. It does have a little red line, but when you're talking a degree or two, it's a little tricky, and you also can't program it. So today I'm going to show you how to replace this old style thermostat with a digital thermostat. What we've got is a couple screws that pass through to hold it on, and sometimes these might be caulked on as well. It's a good idea to turn off the power. Some thermostats actually have 120 volts. There's a special wire for a constant power, but not all of them do. Anyway, here's our couple mounting screws here, and now we're going to remove each of our wires here. It's the red wire and the Y and the W. And most of them are low voltage, 24 volts, but again, some of them have a higher voltage, so something to be aware of. And if you did do this live, you'll want to take precaution not to touch two of the wires together, as that'll cause things to turn on, because all the thermostat does is bridge the leads between certain wires to make certain things happen. Turn your heater on, turn your air conditioner on. Okay, this one has a jumper wire, they're red hot, and this one is actually soldered in place. All the wiring is actually soldered on, so we're going to have to, in order to make this work, and we've got our wire nuts behind. So yeah, that's how this one's wired up. You're going to want to mimic what you have, and now sometimes you may have different setups, but your red is your hot. That's your main power. White's your heat. Your yellow is your air conditioning. And your green is your fan relay. So this one's pretty straightforward. All the colors are going as you would think they would go. Now this one has a blue wire, which is sometimes used for a reversing valve if you have a heat pump set up, and that usually would go to your O terminal on your thermostat. But this one doesn't have that, so very simple. We're just going to match our colors. White's going to go to white, and we're just going to avoid the wires touching each other. Yellow's going to go to yellow. So we're just matching like for like. This is all fairly simple. And again, I'm just avoiding the wires touching anything. And here's the new thermostat. And the spring side is going to go to the flat side for the battery. We've got this little pull-out tab. It makes changing the batteries in the future easier. And of course it doesn't want to cooperate with me at the second. Okay. There's our second battery. No big deal. And hopefully your deal is going to cover the old profile of your base. Now you can actually get a special plate that goes on the back that's a much wider plate for covering different size thermostats, and that's really kind of a nice deal because then any thermostat you put on there, it's going to work. But this I should be able to get away with. Okay, now on our board here we've got a W, you know, matching the colors, W, R, B, R, C, G, O, and Y. So G is our green wire. You know, it's all color coded there, fairly simple. If you saw something different on your old thermostat, you're going to want to mimic that. Like at places, most places, I'm seeing a lot of places where the blue wire goes to the G. So you just want to mimic what you have existing wise. And if you see a 120 volt wire, just be careful. Make sure you turn off your power, because that can jolt you pretty good. Okay, and again, we're avoiding the wires touching because that'll signal the machine to turn on. Another thing you should watch for is your setup here on the jumper switch. If you have gas, you want to set up to gas. I have propane, so I'm going to leave it on gas. And if you have an electric setup, you'll want to switch it to electric. Okay, so I'm going to pass my wires on through. There's 3 of them. The last one, and I accidentally touched them together, and my condenser outside kicked on. That's okay, I just don't want it to happen again. It's a little better to turn the power off, but I have to confess I didn't, because it's low voltage here. But it is better too. Okay. Now I've got this pulled over. And we'll need to configure those a little bit and get my screws, and we'll set this in right where we want it. I'm going to go with about right there. So that's good. That should support it. The kit comes with some mollies and some screws. Depending on how strong your wall material is, sometimes you can just use the screws. Sometimes you may want to set the mollies. It's a good idea with this particular thermostat to use the screws that it came with. The reason being that the plate right here is very thin, and a bigger drywall screw won't actually fit through that plate, and you're not going to want to damage the circuit board. So, just going to want to pick where you want it. I'm going to go with right there. And I'll leave that one a little bit loose while I position the other, and we'll get it nice and level. That looks nice and level there. Okay, that's in nice and strong. And that's in nice and strong as well. And we're in nice and level. Okay, now it's going to be the wiring. So I'm going to want to make sure each of my wires is nice and straight, as well as trimmed to a good level. Again, this is low voltage, but you still do want to be careful. I'm going to trim off the end on this one. This is the hot. As you can see, our jumper wire is going to connect both hots. Okay, and we've got a blue wire here, but the blue wire we're not going to use because we don't have a heat pump. So we can just kind of wrap it around and just kind of keep it out of the way. And there's not a whole lot of room in this particular thermostat, so that's the only little bit of tricky part. I'm going to trim down the green wire a little bit, just to trim the edge off, and the white wire the same, and our yellow wire looks good there. Okay, and so now I'm going to loosen up each of my screws. There's the yellow, there's the green. We're going to ignore the O because we don't have a reversing valve. There's the white, and the red on the side is shared with the jumper. Okay, so it's better to start with the furthest wire away first, just to make sure we have enough room. So here's the white. Put it up underneath and in the slot, and then tighten the screw down. And again, kind of positioning the wire where we can tuck it away. Give it a little tug, make sure it's in there good, and we're all set. Next is going to be the lower green wire. Tuck it on in, tighten it down. Okay. And we've got the red and the yellow. I'll do the yellow first. Gonna tuck it in right there. Whoop. Start that one over. Little tiny wires can be a little tricky, especially if your deal's not perfectly straight. So I'm going to straighten that out a little bit. That'll make that much easier. This is going to allow us to control the thermostat quite a bit more. We'll be able to program it, and that'll definitely allow for much more energy savings, as you can set times of day and everything that you want it to come on and turn off and all that good stuff. So it just gives you much more control. Okay, so now the hot wire is shared with the jumper wire. So you may need to loosen it up a little bit more. Insert it into the same shared slot, and then tighten it on down. Sounds easy, right? It is, but sometimes you'll need your other hand. There we go. Tighten it on down. Okay. And you don't want to over tighten it, but just snug is good. Now we're going to want to position our wires where they're not going to hit anything. And you might have seen my little switch button come off. Not too big a deal. Just goes on like so. Okay, so now again we're going to want to position our thermostat wire back in there and out of the way, where we'll be able to reset our cover. And as with all electrical jobs, that's really where the skill comes in, is being able to fold your wires into a good spot. this little string doesn't matter at all. It's not really anything. You can trim it off or just tuck it away. Okay, and so now we can put our thermostat cover on and we're ready to test things out. So it's showing now that we're Wednesday at 81 degrees. So we're going to go to Program. Now we're going to go to Cool. And we're going to go to Program. And now we're going to set the time. Okay. Actually, I'm going to exit the program because we should have set the time first. Okay, I'm just going to hit run, run. Okay, now we're going to hold down the time button. And, oh boy, you guys are my time because I'm recording with my cell phone. The time right now is 7:48. So, okay, so just going on up to 7:48. Okay. And hit time again. Now we're going to go to the day. Today is actually Thursday. Okay. And so I'll hit run. Okay. The pre-programmed deal is kicked in, so the air conditioner actually just kicked in. I can kind of peek outside and see if my condenser is running. And it is. You can't see it, but I can hear it. All right. And it is kind of warm in here, so I'm actually going to go ahead and leave that on. Now I can go into the program settings and I can program it. I actually have a video showing you how to program it already, so no worry about that. Going to want to make sure that the heater works and kicks in, so I'm going to actually switch over to the heater. Now because mine's a gas heater, it actually has a preheat, like an ignition cycle and everything. So it's going to take a little bit of a while for me to test it, but I'll test it and make sure that it runs properly for the heat mode. There, the air conditioning just turned off. So I'll turn it to the heat mode, and then I'll need to raise the temperature up until it reaches there. So I'll go to about 82 degrees, and it just kicked on. And my particular over to the heater deal, and you can hear the preheat cycle. So it's got a deal that it goes through, and then the heater will kick in. So everything's working exactly how it should be. If you ran in a situation where your heat wasn't turning on after 5 minutes, then you'd want to check that jumper switch that I was telling you about to make sure it's set up properly. There it goes. Just kicked in. And we're good to go. Anyway, that's how to replace an old analog type thermostat with a digital thermostat. Allows you a little more control, probably save some money. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn my heater off because I'm really warm. And I can go through and now program the thermostat where I like it. And the heater just kicked in. Yeah. Anyway, it's going to turn off in just a second. It has a little bit of a delay on purpose, so for it to work properly. But anyway, that's replacing an analog thermostat with a digital thermostat. Thanks for watching Kung Fu Maniacs. Check out my video on how to program a thermostat if you'd like to see that. Once again, thanks for watching Kung Fu Maniacs. Over and out.